Hello and welcome to A Day with the Cart Driver. I am here with Day.
I am here with Scamp, presumably.
Yes, that's me. We are here with the spring 2017 anime season as we continue our look back at the last decade. This is a boring season, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. This might be one where I didn't actually finish a thing.
You watched, what's the English name for this
one?
Fuku
I finished Anonymous Noise. I think that's the only one.
So I've actually watched a few things here, including one, literally, was it 2 days ago I finally watched Night is Short, Walk On Girl. We got the DVD for
Night
it.
is Short, Get Fucked, boy.
Yes, as you keep calling it, and I keep calling it by accident because you kept calling it that. Yeah, this is the Yuasa Tatami Galaxy reunion. Well, I forget what the name of that author is, but yeah, it's those two basically doing Tatami Galaxy again. It's very similar.
And it even has... the box art was done by the artist who does Asian Kung Fu Generations cover art.
Okay.
Came back.
Cover art's really good, actually.
Yeah. I agree.
It's fun.
It is very, very... So, I know when it was first announced as more material came out, people were like, is this just Tatami Galaxy all over again?
It kind of is.
A lot of it does seem to be the same story beats without necessarily the same, more fantastical elements to the plot.
Yeah, it completely lacks the it lacks the fantastical elements, and I think that makes it less... It does make it less... I think Tatami Galaxy is better. I think the way it is telling its story is more interesting in Tatami Galaxy. However, this retains a lot of the... And if anything, is actually more fun. It's basically them just having one big, long, drunken night on the town in Japan.
Is this in Kyoto?
Oh, yes, you're right. I think it is in Kyoto, actually.
Because the author of Tatami Galaxy was also the author of... Come on, you know this.
I do. The one with the Tanuki?
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot what
Eccentric
it's called.
Family.
Eccentric Family, thank you.
Which was... Kyoto was pretty important in that as a setting.
Yeah, it's like, so they just follow this. It's this, young woman going around Kyoto having a really long night out in which she drinks a lot and just gets into escapades, and a boy who likes her, who's also kind of like, maybe now I will confess my love to her. And then all these other characters, as they wander around the town and wild stuff happens. It's fun. That sounds very jamming with faint praise, which it kind of is. I did enjoy it a lot, but there's definitely a sense of I would have enjoyed this more 10 years ago, which was when I watched Tatami Galaxy, and I think a big part.
So, when you were yourself closer to the age of the participants,
yeah, they're very much college age. I think part of I am a little tired of Yuasa now.
Yes, you did comment you are a bit tired of his more juvenile impulses.
I think someone, because I got in a conversation with Twitter with someone about this, but it's like his libido is such a driving force of his stories, and I'm tired of them. I don't want to watch Yuasa. I'm tired of him having a wank while he's drawing the storyboards, I think is the best way to put it. You know, it's very much his libido drives the stories, and that's... As much as I can respect the artistic creation behind the things, at certain point, some of the themes, it's like, dude, keep it in your pants, please.
Yes.
I'm bored now. But, actually, I do like the lead lady in this story. She's a lot of fun. She's a very likable person. You can definitely see why someone might fall for her. Mm-hmm. Because she's just kind of joyous and bubbly and bouncy. And
I didn't end up watching it with you because I realized I was trying to work myself up to it. And I really enjoyed Tatami Galaxy, but I also don't, on the whole, like Yuasa's stuff. And I find his more juvenile impulses incredibly tiresome at this point. My tolerance for things like that has dropped significantly over time.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure I would have enjoyed it, but I didn't feel like it at the moment.
It's not like you can't say interesting things about, sexual urges and stuff.
Yes.
And, trying to come to terms with that, but...
Ikuhara's entire fucking filmography is basically characters dealing with their sexual desires, so...
Yeah.
And I love his stuff.
You know, I'm watching Beastars right now. Hey, that's a pretty big undercurrent to that story. But yeah, I don't think what he's saying in this one is particularly interesting. It's very simplistic in terms of what libido... Am I saying that right? Libido is?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good movie, but I didn't fall for it. Outside of liking the main girl a lot. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that was actually this season was the battle of arguably the two biggest anime of the decade. So it was the second season of both My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan. Which would you... Which do you think is bigger today?
That feels unfair because at this very second, the fourth season of My Hero Academia is airing.
Yeah.
In the way that if you had asked me in the spring, that would have felt unfair because
Attack on Titan had just finished, yeah.
So...
That's why I'm actually finding it difficult to tell which is bigger right now. Because at this time, it felt like Attack on Titan was... While Season 2 was airing...
I think it was bigger.
No, I actually thought this was when My Hero Academia felt like it took over. Maybe that was in part...
I realized I don't actually know how the sales figures compare for the manga specifically.
I know in Japan, Attack on Titan dwarfs everything that is not called One Piece. And that includes My Hero Academia.
I'm thinking Attack on Titan in the West... Well, for one thing, it has been around longer than My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Also... I mean, my point is it's kind of unfair for My Hero Academia because Attack on Titan was such an incredible force within Western fandom. And I don't know that My Hero Academia has had the amount of time to consider... I'm trying to...
I don't know.
One's been around for longer, and it has continued to be huge. And maybe it's not quite the gravitational force it was at one point, but it's still here. Whereas My Hero Academia, it's not... I mean, it's big, but will it be as big in the same amount of time as Titan was? I don't know. I guess it's another way of putting it. I also feel like I see a lot more content... Some of the stuff people have wrapped around into discussing with regards to Attack on Titan is on levels that I don't think I've seen anybody dealing with regards to My Hero Academia.
Or like much deeper themes that's going on in them.
Yeah, or just people grappling with some of the thematic content, but, that itself could be more of a point about...
I think that says more about Attack on... Like, My Hero Academia, does have deeper themes, but the deeper themes are like...
Well, it's more of a straight-up shonen series.
Yes. But
whereas Attack on Titan...
is dealing with pretty broad concepts about...
Well, governance. And...
I mean, we were dancing around it. There is a...
Well,
undercurrent
the author is a nationalist.
Yes.
I think we just have to acknowledge that. And I know that people have... There have been questions about some of the imagery he uses much later on the manga. And I'm phrasing it in this fashion because I don't read the manga.
Yeah.
Not because I'm trying to soft pedal anything.
Yeah.
There's some questions about parallels between some of the imagery and themes later in the manga and the Holocaust in a way that is not, does not seem to indicate... People are concerned that there's anti-Semitism as the story goes further along.
There's definitely a sense of it is 100% commentary on fascism, where I would disagree from what I've seen up now is that he in any way supports it.
Well, and I myself I'm not committing because I've seen a single episode of Attack on Titan. I don't like zombie stories, as I've said before, and this is a zombie story.
It's fine. It's actually a mech anime. But yeah, I think why I'm bringing this up though, compared to the two of them, is that it really felt like, and this more had to do, I think, with how good My Hero Academia Season 2 was. It felt like it took over while Attack on Titan was airing at the same time. Whereas like for the season ones, there's absolutely no contest. Attack on Titan was the biggest anime of the decade. My Hero Academia was a very successful shonen. Whereas this season, it felt like Hero Academia blew up on another level.
You know, one thing we didn't touch on, though, that one of the things that attracted people to Attack on Titan early on was that the female characters weren't garbage and they were treated
they're very
decently within the framework of the story. And that's the repeated critique I hear of My Hero Academia, is that the female cast is not treated particularly well.
Oh, not in the slightest.
Which, you know, I mean, it's a shonen action series. It's kind of falling in line with pretty much... Not every single one that's gone before it. I think it's probably worse than, say...
Than Naruto. It's worse than Naruto. It's worse than Bleach. It's worse
I was going to go with Bleach as my example.
Like, I think... My Hero
It is not worse than Fire Force.
No. But I will say, like, My Hero Academia Season 2 was, like, part of the reason it was good was because they let some of its female characters, especially the main one, Urarako or whatever. I've forgotten her name. Floaty Girl.
Wow. So she's a really meaningful character, so much so that you remember her name.
I'm just bad with names, okay? I call them all, like, Floaty Girl and Icy Boy and Explodey Shithead. But yeah, like Floaty Girl, she's like gets her moment really to shine in this season. She's really good.
I think I know her name. Isn't it Ochako?
Ochako, yes. Ochako Urara something ko.
Urakawa?
No, it's like Urarako because I can hear the frog girl saying her name because Ochako Urarako. She's got a very...
I don't think her last name is Urarako.
Because
that isn't a last name.
Yes, but neither is a bunch of the names in this show. Anyway. Well,
I trust myself knowing that I actually remember her first name than you did, or her given name. Anyway.
And I mentioned this because I've already written the post for this season, but it always surprised me that the two fandoms never went at each other. Considering they were the biggest things, and they're alongside. It just seemed like people just either watch.
But they're also they're fairly different when you get down to it, in a way that like Bleach versus Naruto wasn't.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, Attack on Titan is, to me, it would be like if people who dug, I don't know.
It's a seinen versus shonen, is what you're ultimately saying.
Yeah, it'd be like if people were getting up in arms who are into, I don't know, Gantz, with people who are into Shaman King.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense. By the way, I realize that those are not the right eras, but that's my point.
I think it was more like...
I mean, my point isn't that... My point is that, you know, content-wise, there's a fairly significant gap in terms of...
I guess I was thinking of it as like, because they were the two biggest things, and they dwarf everything else this season.
Yeah, but, you know, I feel like we don't get the same sorts of fandoms going at each other thing.
Yeah.
Is not as a significant aspect of fandom anymore. But I think that also ties in with the fact that fandom's more fragmented in terms of, you know, what are tentpole series.
There's more. Fandom got bigger.
Well, fandom got bigger. Also, fandom got better access to everything.
Yes.
You know, back when it was like Bleach and Naruto, you didn't have streaming services.
I would say I would agree with the idea of there's no tentpole figures, but if there was a tentpole figure, it would be these two.
Yeah, I'm willing. And I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a tentpole, but I think the tentpoles are lower.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And, you know, in the case of something like Attack on Titan, the tentpoles are, you know, in the tents of people who are otherwise watching Marvel movies or something like that.
You're saying,
You know, Attack on Titan was something that people watched who, yes, it brought a lot of people into fandom. It was also consumed by people who didn't touch a single other piece of anime.
Yeah.
I don't think My Hero Academia is quite the same in that regard.
I'm not sure if I agree with that. I've seen My Hero Academia referenced in places that are so far
I look at it this way.
I probably agree with you, but...
Think of the places that you've seen people just trotting around in Attack on Titan gear. Like the clothing.
I've seen like once or twice, yeah.
I see it in places I never expect to see it. To a degree that it's like, oh shit, this is big.
Yeah.
that's not true of My Hero Academia. I've seen people walking around in Survey Corps stuff here in Germany.
Yes.
So, yeah. But I also think I suspect My Hero Academia's audience skews slightly younger than Attack on Titans.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd agree with that too.
I guess the long and the short of it is the fandom has changed significantly in the past 15 years.
And the only fights that broke out were the My Hero Academia versus the Boku no Hero Academia.
Oh my god. So, I'm sorry, I think you mean, what was I calling it the other day? Boku no Yusha Gakuen.
Yes.
And also, Mine Hero
Schule. Universitat.
Mine Hero Universitat.
Anyway.
But there were other things that aired this season, and since we've been gasping about shonen, it seems like it would make sense to bring up Boruto.
Oh, of course, yeah, because Boruto started. We talked about Naruto Shippuden in the last episode, just Naruto in general. Yeah, Boruto came out. It seems like after like an original excitement, it seems like people have not been super keen on it.
I mean, I know it's still getting watched in fairly significant numbers. I also know, though, I don't think it's pulling quite the audience figures that Naruto was, which isn't surprising.
It's also kind of a shame, though, because it did seem like it could, because it's essentially a clean break. There was plenty of lapsed fans who would have been more than happy to just start watching Boruto, and then they just all stopped. Well, not all stopped. It's still very watched, but
it's still like it drives me bonkers that his name is Bold. That's what Boruto is. Oh. It's Bold. Like I can't. It's kind of. I have a hard time conveying my feelings on this. It's just yeah. I don't know. It's very shonen, but it's also like, seriously? Really? Really now? The kid's name is Bold. Okay. I guess if you want it that way.
It's not a terrible name.
It's just, it's kind of, I don't know.
Anyway. So I was kind of going through all the things that came out this season. Like, what was actually the next biggest?
Oh, God. Okay, actually, you know what is probably one of the biggest things this season?
Yeah.
Granblue Fantasy, the animation.
Oh, yeah, so we're going to jump down to there. Yes.
Well, yes, because I don't think we can discuss this without discussing it. Because this was one of the best-selling shows of the year. And in fact, it is one of the best-selling shows of the past 5 years. And I know you're going to go, oh, well, but wasn't there packaged in stuff for the game? And yeah, but it was still one of the best-selling shows of the past 5 years. Enough so that some of its volumes showed up in the top sellers list for 2018 type of thing.
Yes, I'm aware that Granblue Fantasy's anime adaptation sells stupid numbers.
Yes.
But I'm reluctant to give it too much credit when I know part of the reason why it sold is because it was people wanting to get the gacha drops from it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, but it's still making money.
Yeah.
What is the cost of doing gacha drops for a company ultimately?
Nothing.
If you want to add in additional gacha drops, that doesn't necessarily cost you anything.
No.
And yes, it's a way to goose your sales figures, but it's a fairly effective way to goose your sales figures.
I'm wondering what impact this has in the industry. What impact to have in the industry is to make more adaptations of phone games.
I mean, they already were, though. We're discussing this in the same season as Rage of Bahamut got another season.
True.
You know,
I don't think that...
We'd already gotten... We'd been getting enough Mobage adaptations at this point that you had long since said goodbye to your... Remember, your first feeling was like, okay, this isn't the worst thing in the world to have these adaptations because it gives the creators, the folks working on the show, a lot of freedom because most mobile games don't have plots.
Yeah.
Or story arcs or anything. So there's a lot more room to move around within that, but... Most of them are uninspired poop, so...
Also, I've increasingly discovered that actually a lot of these phone games do have stories, because they basically have visual novels attached to them.
Oh, yeah. Love Live does.
Love Live does. Like, the handful of stuff I have actually played do, and those stories are terrible. So
oh yeah, that's I always skip the story mode in Love Live School Idol Festival because it's just crap.
yeah, I'm sure you can do a good story within that,
but my point being, you're saying what an impact does this have? And I'm pointing out, yes, but we were already at the point when they'd been doing so many of these to begin with that. Also, too, for everyone that is a smash success like Grand Blue Fantasy, you have the ones where, like, the mobile game gets shut off before the show even starts.
Yes.
Most famously, of course, Kimono Friends, but also things like Girl in the Twilight. I think that was...
Oh, that thing was okay.
I want to say the mobile game was shut off before the show even started.
Oh, dear.
So yes and no. Also, please keep in mind, this is not the first time that you have had packaged in things for special chances in anime releases. And it's very common to CD releases.
Yeah, it's a lot of like tickets. It was like lotteries
to
idol
special
things.
Events is a lot of it, you know.
You always got that for the idol shows, both like men and women.
Okay. Yuri Bearstorm had an event ticket in the first volume of the Japanese release.
Okay.
So, this is nothing new. It's just, this is a particular example where the show sold stupidly well, so you notice it.
I think my context though is it speaks to how popular Grand Blue Fantasy the game is. I think it's... Yeah. It's like, I don't know if Fate Go beats it, but it's up there. It's one of the most... Knows? It sells stupid well in Japan. You brought up Rage of Bahamut getting the new thing.
Oh, God.
Do we want to talk about Virgin Soul?
So... Actually, maybe Genocide isn't so bad if the guy is hot. There's so much to like about this show, and then it shits its pants for the back half. That's the only way to describe it.
Rage of Bahamut's first season, which is Genesis, is like legitimately a lot of fun. The story's crap and it gets boring towards the end, but it had like... You were like, I would totally watch something else within this world with these characters again. And that's exactly what we got with Virgin Souls. Plus they introduced, we still get Favaro and Kaiser and all these great people. And then they introduced this new girl, the main character. Nina, who is great.
I love her. She's part of a dragon people. And her problem is she hasn't gotten good at controlling her dragon powers yet. And when she gets horny, she turns into a dragon.
Yes.
It's great. I love her. And she's a horny teenager. So she's on the verge of turning into a dragon a lot.
Yes.
And yes, she's the Virgin Soul.
Ah, yes.
Referenced in the title.
And
I love her.
And then they go on an adventure.
She has a terrible crush on someone who's horrible. Oh, and who the show, like, instead of trying to walk back his horribleness, because... the sort of, like, I have the hots for someone who's bad. But, then we learn a bit about them, and things aren't quite what they seem, and now they've met me, and, they've realized that that's not what this show does. It just commits whole hog to genocide.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like, oh, well, they love each other, so it's okay.
Oh, God, the ending is the most infuriating bullshit. Just the whole... Because if ultimately the story follows the same like downward trend of the first season, but because it's twice as long, it then just keeps going down until it hits rock bottom. It's not the worst ending of the decade because it was already so bad beforehand anyway.
Yeah, I ended up dropping it because it had become so aggressively bad, and it was so clear at the point that I dropped it that they were never going to turn the bus around on the love interest being a genuinely horrible human being.
I mean, I wouldn't say.
And I loved Nina.
She's great.
And by having the love interest be so fucking awful, it ends up ruining Nina.
It does, because it ultimately comes that she will sell out her people, her country, every friend,
every principle she holds, anyone she's ever cared about otherwise,
for this man she has a crush on.
Yeah, and it's like it's hormones. It's girl, you're 16.
It's awful. And it makes me mad and it makes me sad. It makes me more sad than mad because of how much I like the characters and how much I wanted this thing to be a thing. So, what else what are the other big things from this season? And I know Recreators was quite big.
Yeah, people dug Recreators at the time. And then it disappeared almost immediately.
Yeah. This was like, it's reverse isekai, a bunch of people from magical worlds all come into the real world.
It's like, what if you were a creator, a writer, a video game designer, a TV producer, etc., and your creations manage to come into this world and come to life.
Yeah. And then getting involved in a big fate-esque fate /
That's actually a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
And I think people early on were like, ooh, this could say some really interesting things about, the nature of... authorial intent? Yeah, and, yeah, but... And just also about, like, the industry and the nature of entertainment and entertainment's the relationship between, creator, fan, and entertainment. And it wasn't...
I didn't think...
It thought it was... What made me drop it was that it was pretty clear that it thought it was quite gritty and profound, and I found its tone irritating.
Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't think it was very good.
Yeah, because it really wasn't that interested in digging into what it looked like it originally would. And again, this was a show, I know a lot of people watched it at the time and thought well of it, but by the end of the year, I was barely hearing anyone discuss it at all. It disappeared very rapidly.
Yeah.
Other things that were...
Well, actually, do you know what? So, after My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan...
I think I know which one it is.
Which one?
Eromanga Sensei.
It was.
So this is by the author of My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute, or A Emo.
Mm-hmm. By this stage, because remember when REA would come out and I...
Oh my god, people wanted to tell me that it was a touching thing about a sibling relationship.
Yeah.
And then I read 2 chapters of the manga and she's shaking her ass in the air. And I was like, yes, touching sibling relationship.
So by this stage, everyone had long since given... Well, also because, like, the anime for that had ended. Like, it had ended with, incest being the one true winner.
Oh, I remember people being... violently angry about how that all ended.
I also remember people being like, what? Like, just laughing the whole way along because they too had, like, long since given.
Also,
all benefits of the doubt were long since gone.
But the specific wrinkle was that there were people who were irritated that it had gone full incest, but then were also pissed because, like, it went full incest and then it was like, LOL JK. And people were like, look, if you're gonna commit to it, I don't like that, but at least stick with your choice. Don't commit to it and have a fake marriage ceremony between the siblings and then turn around and tell us teehee JK. Like, what are you doing? You don't even have guts to stick with your decision?
So by this stage, everyone had long since gone, oh no, this guy's a hack and writes garbage. Eromanga Sensei came out. It was watched by a genuinely huge number of people.
Oh yeah, tons of people watched this.
And very much hate-watched it.
Yes.
Or shitpost-watched.
I remember seeing constant screen caps from there's just this one character who all she ever does is talk about sex. And just sexually harasses the lead nonstop. Because they'll be sitting down at lunch and everybody's... So they're in college, and it'll be like everybody else is eating their lunch, and it's discussing things like, oh, classes, the weather, totally normal shit. And she's just like, I want you to put your hot dog in my wee-wee. And it's like, what?
Top quality light novel writing. Anyway, it was total garbage, and fucking
a lot of people watched
fucking
it.
everyone watched it.
By the way, folks, hate watching in the streaming era. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm hate watching it. Do you know where your money's going, you stupid bitch?
By hate watching it, you are encouraging them to watch
Make more. And this is, I remember earlier this year with Shield Hero and seeing people like, oh, this is so bad. Check out my screen caps. And it's like,
Shield.
You're so dumb.
Shield Hero had a lot of people who really, really love Shield Hero. I feel like there was no one who liked Eromanga Sensei.
Yeah. I think Eromanga Sensei is... God, it pains me to be even opening my mouth and saying such a thing, but I don't think it was as bad. It's ideologically rotten at the core.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it was good.
Well, we will save that discussion for Shield Hero when it comes out.
I mean, we have nothing to discuss there, though. Neither of us watched it.
And then there is... So, anyway, back to other TV series. We have the very, very long title.
Wait, which one?
World End.
Suka.
Which is, what will you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? That's the title.
Yeah.
I think that's the longest title in anime history. I think that's even longer than the Sympho Gear ones.
I'd really have to sit down and, I don't know, in the distant Sympho Gear, in the distance that day when...
Star became music?
Yeah.
This is longer than that.
What was the latest one? Sympho Gear XV, I wish I remembered it, but there was one where it was like, seize something and hold a determination to fist.
Determination fist.
Seize justice and hold a determination to fist.
I think World End, what will you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? Is longer.
I don't know. We're going to have to sit down and do a study on this.
That's a whole conversation.
Anyway, did you watch a little of this?
Yeah, I did. It was okay. I don't know. It's not really my kind of thing. It's very earnest. It's like fantasy world, and there's a hero, and there's a like sort of pseudo orphanage for these fairies, and it's all like they're being cute, and he's going to take care of them, but then emotional shit happens.
Well, yeah, aren't they used as weapons?
Yeah, I never actually got to really. I didn't get far enough, and I didn't particularly care for it.
God, it's like Gunslinger Girl for the current era, I guess.
Yeah, it's very light. It's very light novelly, but it's very earnest drama. Kind of light novel.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people liked it. It was, not a lot. It was
I know.
Moderately popular.
Yes, and it was one of those titles that it seemed like there were a decent number of people like, well, this isn't my sort of show, but as an example of this sort of show, we can see why people dig this if they're into this.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Next on the list was Sakura Quest, which I actually watched a decent chunk of.
I think I saw 2 episodes.
I watched more than that. And I think I watched it in part because I've been put in this position the main character had been in once before. Which is when you go to a town to cover something and end up getting roped into being a mascot character for whatever promotional thing they're running.
Wait. When were you roped into being a mascot character?
So, at one point, I went to a small town in Somerset to cover some kind of local event, and then I had to dress up as the genie.
You never told me about this!
There was a turban and everything.
Oh, no. Sounds racist. Sounds like Somerset.
And there was a turban and everything, and I had to grant the wishes, and I was like part of a other people made the decision for me. I just granted the wish, but it was people who wanted to do something with council funds, and I had to sit there and pretend.
Wow, this sounds gruesome.
And I had to fucking sit there.
Is there YouTube footage of this somewhere?
No, there's not. It was bizarre, but I also remembered that pretty vividly while watching Sakura Quest.
You never told me about that.
I never told you that was.
No, I heard about your other escapades in Somerset, like throwing moldy bread at trees. And trying not to drown.
It wasn't moldy, it was soggy. Come on.
And trying not to drown.
Yes, Somerset was an interesting adventure. But yeah, that was one of my experiences with Sakura. That's why I kept watching Sakura Quest. I think it's a PA Works piece.
It is you think.
I mean, it looks like one.
All the characters look like they could have appeared in Shirobako.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
And that's why a lot of people kept watching it, there was a hope that this would be kind of like Shirobako for the non-animation industry young adults who are struggling with work.
Yeah.
Instead, the premise is, here's your rural town. We need to hire... She ends up there as... She's going to be the,
Turnip queen?
Yeah, she's the turnip queen. And she's been desperate for a job, so she's like, sure, why not? I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being about, this town that's dying, and here she is doing this crap job she doesn't want.
Yeah, it's about rural Japan. I think it was even in part funded.
PA Works did something about rural Japan. Yeah. I'm shocked.
But I think it was partly funded by like a Japanese agency or like a local tourism agency. Like it wasn't bad by any stretch.
I just thought it was kind of dull.
Yeah, like I appreciated what it was.
A lot funnier.
Yes, I appreciated what it was going for. The main character sure as hell looks like.
But Shirobako also, I would argue, was a bit harder edged.
Oh, yes.
It loved what it was covering, but it was also willing to be like, yeah, guess what?
This
sucks.
Yes.
Whereas I felt like with Sakura Quest, yes, we were getting like the isn't it funny what they're doing to try to attract people to this Nowheresville? But it wasn't willing to be harsh about its subject.
Yeah, I mean, it was alright. I watched more of it than I kind of expected to. You know, we'll spend a lot of time shitting on anime, so sometimes if an anime is just like, yeah, I didn't like totally love it. It was okay. You talked about we should probably actually talk about Anonymous Noise, considering.
Okay, but see, I was trying to go for something that we could be positive about after you said that because I'm going to shit all over Anonymous Noise.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. How about I talk about CG anime?
Oh, Kato. Oh, and you also watch ID Zero.
Yes.
ID Zero? I don't know how
it is ID Zero, yeah.
Okay.
For some reason around this time, so like, it should be increasingly clear nowadays that science fiction anime don't do well.
For the most part, no.
No. It's like, there's like weird cases, like technically Sword Art Online is a science fiction anime. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but also no. I get what you're saying.
Yes. But
because it's also arguably a fantasy show.
Yes, it's if anything more
fantasy show.
But yeah, so like the kind of the trappings and the visual style and the themes talked about in science fiction, that kind of thing doesn't really happen so much this decade. There's like, you know, Psychopath was a big success.
Yeah.
But most of the biggest things are...
I'm searching my brain for something else that... I mean, if I sat down and looked through the entire list, I'm sure I could point to something. Yeah. But you're right. I don't think it's been as big of a genre. I think especially noticeably so because, like, the late 90s and early 2000s were big on sci-fi.
This is Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion era.
Well, also it's, you know, the era of... Well, space shows. Space shows really aren't much of a thing anymore either.
Yes.
Which, actually, we could wrap into ID Zero on that one.
Yeah, because ID Zero is by the director of Code Geass. Forgotten his name. But anyway, you know, he's the director of Code Geass. But he's done a bunch of other, like, really good science fiction things.
Goro Taniguchi?
Goro Taniguchi. Thank you. How do you remember and I don't?
Because you talk at me about... this man sometimes.
Goro Taniguchi, and like he's done, you know, Infinite Revice, for example, which is very science fiction. And so ID Zero in particular is a very science...
This was licensed by Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it was about robots and losing your identity and becoming, like, how it basically take your consciousness out of your body and put it into a robot. But for a bunch of these people, they have completely lost their original body, so they're only robots. That's how they pilot mechs in this world, and then it's all about, you know, governments, conspiracy, and evil corporations and things like that.
Mining stuff?
Yeah, they're mining. That's why they do the thing. It's not just soldiers; it's mostly for mining. I think the main character like loses her body at one point, and they get her. And this like roving band. You're not supposed to abandon your body, but that's why they're outlaws, I think. But yeah, like. It ultimately didn't... It's okay. I actually relatively enjoyed it, but I'm like, no, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But this
doesn't sound like...
No. Because it just appeals to me of like, it's mech, it's science fiction, it tells some interesting themes. The characters all suck, but that's the main thing.
No one watched this.
Nobody watched it. Nobody watched this CG, and the CG's not good. And kind of the same it's the characters. It really is the characters. It's like Kato, which is the other series, Kato the Right Answer. It's science. Again, this one's not mechs. This one's much more high concept.
Sci-fi.
What if sci fiction.
So I watched a little bit of this. I should go back and finish it because I did like what I saw of it.
How far did you get? Okay, what was... Because one of the things they did is basically this giant cube drops down in the middle of Japan.
On a runway.
Yes.
Swallows a plane.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh shit, what now?
And then this guy with no arms walks out with white hair, but his hands, so he's like Rayman.
Thank you.
Yes. He walks out.
You do realize that probably half our audience has no idea who that is.
Rayman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. None of them know who Kado is, so.
True.
But what makes the show really interesting is how he will introduce scientific advancements that are so far beyond what we are capable of, and how that shapes society as these...
Yeah. So the lead in the... What's his name? He goes by a shortened version of his name because he pronounces his whole name and no one's able to actually produce the noises with their vocal boxes.
Oh, yes.
And there's a human guy who he ends up negotiating with him because that's his job, is he handles business negotiations. And he happens to be on the plane when this happens, so he negotiates with this being for getting everybody out of the cube.
Yeah.
Because there's some complications why they can't just push him out of the cube easily.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a broader thing about, humankind's interactions with this incredibly, incredibly advanced intelligence that is not human. And then humanity having to try to, take in these concepts and technologies that are so beyond what they've ever even considered. And as you started to say, how humanity grapples with that, is able to do so, is able to not do so. It's very high concept.
It's super, super high concept. It makes it fascinating.
And in fact, that's part of why I dropped at the time, because I was going into working on my dissertation.
Oh, it was too much.
And I simply... my brain was so full of everything else that I wanted to watch things that were not going to, bust my brain any more than I was already doing. So that's why I stopped watching, because I couldn't watch at that point in time.
I will say, though, depending on how far you got, it might be worth just stopping. I think, did you get the episode where they moved the cube across the city? No, you remember it, because it's kind of, they do it by this point, it's really cool. But they end the kind of last couple episodes, and especially the last episode, it's fucking awful. It just goes to complete, weird nonsense power of love bullshit. It's really bad.
Oh, does the leads... because remember, I really liked the episode 0 for this.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Because in the episode 0, until the very end of the episode, there's no sci-fi. It's just about these two guys who work for this company, and they deal with negotiations in companies. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that. They just go into, it's like a local factory, and I forget what they're even negotiating.
It's contracts to build certain type of metal plating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that episode. I think you were a little less enchanted.
I'm into...
I found it really interesting.
I'm into this show for their super high concept
So the guy, Shindo...
You remembered his name?
Well, yes, because it's the same name as Hikaru from Hikaru no Go. He's Hikaru Shindo.
Okay.
He works with another guy, and the other guy is not nearly as good at the job. He's sort of his, Kohai who admires him a lot and needs to get better at his job. Well, did they kiss at the end?
No.
Damn!
There was the lady.
What?
Yeah.
No!
Yeah. Sorry.
That show was... There should have been gay end.
Okay. The real gay ship was the weird white-haired alien creature.
The alien in Shindo.
Yes. But yeah, the show was fascinating, but ultimately kind of failed. But man, if you're into high concept science fiction, just ideas, this is really good. Also, if by some chance you went back and watched Kado, this author is the same person who wrote Babylon, that's come out in fall 2019. Which I still haven't watched yet.
Same.
But I've heard good things about, so that's the CG anime, and because others see good, but neither of them are well directed, and the humans' characters look bad. And when compared to stuff that does look really, really good, like
Land of the Lustrous.
Land of the Lustrous, and now Beastars, now we have a second example, thank fuck.
Although the second example also doesn't have human characters.
Yeah,
either.
maybe that... Well,
CG maybe is just better for...
non-humans.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What else? Okay, there's another big one. That was garbage. That I'm just going to mention quickly. Akashic Records of the Bastard Instructor.
Oh god, yes, that was
another,
big.
like...
Trash.
Sexist piece of shit show that did really well.
Did you like
this is the one that, like... So I actually quite looking at school uniform designs.
I have noticed that.
I like it, okay?
Okay. We all have our crosses to bear.
Well, I'm interested in it, and I find it intriguing from the viewpoint of, like, what actually uniforms look like, and why they look the way they do. Because, of course, you know why the sailor uniform became big and was a symbol of modernity.
Why?
It's because of the Navy.
Okay.
The Navy was a big deal at the time as you start seeing sailor suits used as school uniforms.
Okay.
It was a sign of modernity and democracy.
Huh.
In case anybody was interested. Oh, I could start gasbagging about Japan in World War I, but I'm not going to.
So, is this a sign of post-modernity? Is if you've got garter belt straps and...
These uniforms were fucking hideous, and I hate them.
They're like the ultimate fetish uniform.
They're awful. They're so ugly.
They're super fetishy. I love them.
That's the thing. Like,
they're great.
Oh, I hate them so much. They're hideous, and there's no excuse for it.
The excuse
because
is...
that's the thing. Like, you see plenty of school uniforms in anime that it's like, that skirt seems kind of ridiculously short. But it's within the bounds of possibility. And then you have this bullshit where it's like, we're in this world where, you know, our young ladies are very chaste and they must be pure. And then we put them in fucking garter belts and they have thong lines that go all the way up to their elbows. And it's like, no.
That's not a thong line. That was like their straps, like dungaree straps.
I think they come up over their hips.
Yeah, but I assumed it was attached to like the bottom of their skirt.
Look, it's still
I don't think they're wearing like Borat style.
Look, my point is, you're claiming it's set in this particular world, and then you're tossing all the girls into these fetish outfits, and it's like, no, fuck you, I'm not that stupid.
Whatever, it's...
You know, at least come up with a reason for it. Don't tell me one thing and then show me something else. And anyways, absolutely fucking hideous. You know, if you want to get your sexies on, there are much better sexy school uniforms to look at. I fucking hate them. They're so ugly.
What's a sexy school uniform then?
That just depresses me as a topic.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, if you just want to just...
But look, my point is, if you want to look at something that's sexy, to me, it's like when I see in something like Macross Delta, where they're performance outfits, and they're hideous, and they're ugly as sin, and you're like, isn't a huge part of this idol bullshit that you want to look at the cute clothing or the sexy clothing? Why are you throwing them in things that are horrible to look at and visually offensive?
Because evidently you have a different...
Look, and I'm talking as someone who ended up watching the Heavy Rotation music video because I'd heard there were some cute bras in it. And there are.
Isn't that why you watch Punchline?
Their facial expressions are dead, and it's creepy as hell. Yes, part of the reason I watched Punchline, I was like, okay, I like cute underwear. There were a lot of reasons, but I was curious about it. And then it didn't even have the decency to give me much cute underwear.
Do you know...
I'm sorry, we need to stop talking about this because we're already...
Do you know what else had, like, speaking of underwear, do you know what one of the characters had in Sin Nanatsu no
God. Seven Deadly Sins.
Which is not the Seven Deadly Sins. This is the one that's
this is basically Queen's Blade.
It's Queen's Blade, yes.
No, I don't think they're related to Queen's Blade, the folks who made it.
So, but there was a scene, for some reason I watched the first episode of this.
We did. I think because it was there.
And the one I got was the censored version. And then there was an upskirt shot, but it was fairly clear from the upskirt shot that she wasn't wearing underwear. And I was looking at it like, okay, I have to know, what the fuck was she wearing then? Was there nothing? Were they just going to show her vagina in the uncensored version? So I got that, and we got the upskirt shot, and she was wearing a Band-Aid.
Yeah. Oh, God, because I remember thinking about it, thinking like, ooh.
And I was like, I don't think that would cover the
world's tiniest vagina.
World's tiniest vagina, or even the butthole, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
Yes.
There's a cute girl in it who somehow gets killed. I don't remember anything else other than it's like... I was like, oh, it's like we're back in Queensblade territory.
Do you want to talk about Anonymous Noise now?
Have we talked about everything else? Well, we didn't mention Mirage Salesman New.
Which has a neat OP, and I don't remember anything else. I think it's notorious for being one of the worst selling anime like of the decade.
Even worse than
Saitayo. No, I do know it's one of the worst selling anime, which seems kind of unfair on the poor thing.
It was a much older property that hadn't gotten anything in decades type deal, in which the titular salesman is, well, he's one of these folks that's like, I've got a great deal for you. Oh, whoops, you got everything you wanted, but now every
monkey's paw
food can only taste like diarrhea to you or something.
Yeah.
It was one of those stories. Let's see. Oh, Kenka Bancho Otome, because the manga, I think, got licensed for this recently.
Girl beats boys.
This was an adaptation of an Otome game in which, so the premise is, one day, a girl is walking to school, and somehow she gets involved with an accident involving this young man who's, he's a delicate young would-be scion of the a Yakuza family, and the butler's like, oh, you're gonna have to take my place, and the boy's like, yes, you'll have to take my place. So this poor girl ends up at this, like, delinquent high school, and everybody's like, oh, it's him, oh, he's a badass. But it does turn out she can kick ass, and I forget why. She learned how to, like, beat people up or something.
Okay.
So, yes, the premise is all the guys that end up being hot for her, like, she's ended up besting in a fight in the schoolyard. And they don't know that she's a she. Oh, and then there's an implication that I think we end up realizing that the boy she's replaced, they intentionally entrapped her into it because he wanted to go to her school as a girl.
Okay.
It's a short, which I think was exactly the way it should have been. It's fun. It's not particularly bright. If you're sitting around and you're like, damn, I wish we had an Otome show where not only did the lead actually have a spine, but, like, she was actually capable of kicking ass. This is probably a good bet. And the final one, I think this is the one we're going to end on, is Anonymous Noise.
Yes, which you watched.
I watched.
It's like shoujo music story.
Yes, shoujo doesn't get as many adaptations anymore. This show is terrible.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's awful. I don't think the manga could have been much good either, but the premise is that you have this girl who, she just constantly wears a surgical mask because of her feelings or some shit. She wears headphones a lot too. She doesn't really like talking. And she is emotionally wounded because both of her childhood friends disappeared. Which, by the way, is bullshit, because, like, okay, fine, have one childhood friend in the show who vanished one day, but both of them? That, and I think that was my primary issue, is that it's a lazy story. It can't even, when it uses a trope, it can't even... Like, how uncreative is it to have two of your childhood friends end up wayward? It never saw a trope it didn't want to, embrace and then squeeze into an early grave. One of the love interests, he's okay, but then you find out he's possessive. The other love interest is just a fucking asshole. And you find out, and he's just horrible to the lead because she's been trying to find him for years, and she finds him. He's like, yeah, you suck. Fuck you. And she's like, but we were friends. And it's just, it's overwrought. It's, it
sounds like something I would love.
I hate watched it because I actually do really, it's terrible, but I definitely, I enjoy sneering at bad shows, but it has to be bad in a specific way. This is the sort of bad show that I could watch until, the sun exploded.
Weren't you just saying earlier in this episode to not hate watch things in the streaming era?
Well, yes, but in the context of something that I think is more actively damaging than this.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think this is bad. Do I think it is Shield Hero bad? No.
Okay.
Because I don't think its core is quite as rotten, although some of the messages it sends are bad. It's melodramatic in ways that are not enjoyable. All the characters, you want to say to them, child, see a fucking psychiatrist. The degree to which you were messed up over this thing that happened when you were 10 is it completely out of whack with what actually happened to you. The lead, life is terrible because my 2 childhood friends moved away. And it's like, I had childhood friends who moved away and I never saw them again. And I was not in high school having depressive fits over it and going to the sea to sing at the ocean because I had, negative feelings inside of me. Everybody in this show needed a fucking therapist. I did enjoy it and I was sorry to see it end. But I enjoyed it because it was terrible.
Oh dear. Okay. And I think that's it for this season, actually.
Yeah, that was it for this season. That is the only show I watched completely.
Wow.
But, I was working on my dissertation. So, maybe that had an impact on, if you're sitting there thinking, wow, you're a warped weirdo, maybe it was stress.
Oh, okay. I guess that maybe explains a lot of your reactions to some of the stuff. I don't think you missed much. But I liked Kado, I guess. And actually, I kind of liked Night of Short Walk On Girl. Once I actually got back to it, I actually did quite enjoy it.
No, you sure get fucked, boy.
And I thought My Hero Academia 2 was excellent. And I thought it's easily the best My Hero Academia has been. And Attack on Titan Season 2 was very good too. But I always liked Attack on Titan, so that was less surprising. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what to pick for the ending. I really liked the ending song, I think, to Attack on Titan Season 2.
Yeah, you did seem to dig that, so...
It's weird and haunting, and I really like it.
I think we should use the ending theme for 7 Deadly Sins.
Okay, we're going to Attack on Titan. We'll see you next time.